So I'm just curious, do you just get inspired by places that are isolated? Like, can you write a movie about like a townhouse in the middle of a big city, or do you need that like isolation to really get going? Because both Caveat and Oddity are just the worst possible places to ever live.
Well, they're both shot in the same room as well, so yeah.
Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass, and I'm joined by Damian McCarthy, the writer and director of Oddity, which is already out in theaters and is coming to digital on August 20th, 2024. I'm going to talk to him right now, and while you're watching, if you can like, subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll spend a lot. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I've got Damian McCarthy, the writer and director of Oddity, which is it's already out in theaters. It's coming to digital on August 20th, 2024. It is a wonderful atmospheric horror film that has this ability to play with the audience, an amazing use of light, and a lot of twists and turns along the way. I adore this movie. I loved it. It is Damian's second movie. His first was Caveat, which also had that ability to play with the audience, make them kind of feel tense and unease all the time. And Oddity is a wonderful, I guess, next step in his directorial journey. It is a great movie, so make sure to check it out. And thanks so much for joining me.
Cheers. It's great to see you again. Yeah, thank
Of
you.
course. Yeah, it's great to see you too. I was excited for this movie. I was excited for this interview. Obviously I love the movie. This gave me an excuse to watch it again. And I think my personal rule, and I'm pretty sure it's universal, is like if I do a second interview with someone, then we're friends. So I'm excited that now we're friends and we can
Good.
keep
Good.
going.
Sounds good.
So first question. What messed up, horrible, I assume family experience caused you to write this movie?
Um, Good question. Nothing, uh, nothing personal. I think somebody did ask me this. Was there anything? I think there's a bit of a trend in horror films at the moment with family secrets, family drama, family being stuck together. It seems to be a bit of a thing in horrors at the moment. I do wonder, does it come from everybody? A lot of this stuff was written during lockdown and people trapped inside with with their loved ones and their families and kind of going, oh my God, like if I couldn't trust these people or if there was a secret here, I wonder, like the danger is already inside. But luckily for me, no, I had nothing like that. I think I don't know what the inspiration for really. I guess really the inspiration for it was just a way to use a lot of subgenres that I really loved, and bring them together. I mean, anybody that's seen the film, they'll see that it's it's a little bit of a ghost story, it's a little bit of a psychological horror, it's a little bit of slasher, and I don't know what I make any one of those. Slasher's a good example. I don't know what I ever make a full slasher movie, like a full 90-minute slasher. But I think with Oddity, it kind of allowed me to maybe dip my toe into that and just have, to see what it's like to have that home invasion kind of horror element. And then of course from Caveat of my short films, there is stuff in that I'm more on familiar ground with, like the psychological, the supernatural, this kind of thing. But yeah, I guess the idea of the film really came from, wanting to mix a few genres and test out a few things.
Yeah, well, and it's a great little mix of different genres. Like you said, there's a little bit of a slasher moment, there's a little bit of a ghost story. I like that
Hmm.
you mentioned your shorts because I saw in your background in like I guess 2013 you wrote a short called or directed a short called How Olin Lost His Eye, and I assume that that is the same Olin. Are these all like different parts of the Oddity extended universe, or?
Um, it started off as that. The idea was that, yeah, that's going to be this is Olin now as an adult. There's a short film, How Olin Lost His Eye. Even though he does have a different backstory in this that other people talk about it, and he never confirms it. I have seen somebody online somewhere talking about that, saying, "Oh, is this the same short?" And then somebody else was saying that it doesn't match up or something. But I think these things are best left open to choose your own adventure. Whatever people think, I'm fine with it.
And speaking of continuity, I was, really excited but saddened to see that Isaac from Caveat, the experience in the shack drove him insane. He had to go to an asylum, change his name to Declan. Like that was an interesting twist.
No, I think Isaac is alive and well. I think we put him through enough in Caveat that he's off there living the good life somewhere with his dog.
I hope so. That was an experience for him. But it
Yeah.
was great to see Johnny French. I saw him in the film. I was like, oh, like I recognize that person. That was nice to have like him come back in. I assume. Did you write this for Johnny, or was this just like a happy coincidence? Or like, hey, I have a new project, and you worked with him before, so you jumped on in.
Well, yeah, it's such a good experience with Jonathan that it was just we had the film cast, but it's even though it was such a small role in it, I knew that it was very intense, and I wanted somebody that's that wouldn't. somebody that would be really good and that could make an impression in such a short space of time. And obviously, I'd work with Jonathan, and yeah, he's very talented, and it just seemed like a really good choice to ask him if he'd be up for it. And luckily for me, he was. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I kept looking in his drawings to see if there was some sort of like rabbit in there, some sort of like, bow and arrow or a shack. I didn't see that. I don't think that continuity made it through, but
Should
I
have
was
done that
hoping.
actually. Now that you mention it, I actually should have. I nearly should have made him the same character and just said, "Yeah, this is Isaac. This is what became of him." But I guess it would have been a little bit of a bleak ending for him then, you know.
Yeah, but then, we can see if more characters will keep going through and keep having bleak
Yeah,
endings for.
there you go.
And you said you already had the film cast. How'd you find the rest of this cast? Have you worked with any of them before, or were they just people that you had wanted to work with?
Just people I'd wanted to work with. I'd seen them all in bits and pieces. Even smaller parts like Joe Rooney, who played Bernie. He'd be a very well-known comedian here in Ireland. Steve Wall has obviously done a lot. He was coming from Dune 2 and Gwilym Lee, obviously. Um, yeah, it was just yeah, I was just lucky to get the cast that I had, and I was working with Emma Gunnery, our casting director as well, who just a talented casting director will obviously be able to read the script and go, oh, I think I know somebody really good for that, and throw out a few ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of. But I was a little bit familiar with everybody in it, and they're all excellent to work with, and they all brought their ideas to the film too. In terms of maybe it would have been written one way, but then what they would have done would have been in some ways so much more interesting than what I would have written. Like, for example, I think Carolyn's character, both sisters, I think I had them written quite laid back and kind of, a little bit more hippie, kind of, something a bit more laid back. And whereas she kind of had that great idea to put more of a distinction between them, that one sister's quite laid back and this would be Dani, whereas Darcy is a little bit more, troubled with everything that she's been through. Steve Wall's character of Ivan, this creepy orderly, that was very much written to just be this very brutish, thuggish kind of, uh, just quite an outwardly violent character. And it's all the same dialogue, but then what Steve did with it, he just had this idea to play it much quieter, bring everything down, and it's all the same dialogue, and he does the same things. It's just he put so much more of a menacing spin on it. And then at times it almost kind of felt like, well, is this character kind of looking up to the Doctor in such a way that he's almost not imitating him, but trying to, really, trying to be like him in some ways. And it was great. So I mean, that's just the benefit of working with a good cast. They have these ideas that you just weren't thinking of.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm trying to picture Ivan as like a more, I don't know, outwardly violent person. I think it was played perfectly. It kind of fit the
Yeah,
tone of the movie.
yeah,
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 yeah.
absolutely.
So I'm just curious, do you just get inspired by places that are isolated? Like, can you write a movie about like a townhouse in the middle of a big city, or do you need that like isolation to really get going? Because both Caveat and Oddity is just the worst possible places to ever live.
Well, they're both shot in the same room as well. So yeah, I don't know. I guess when I grew up in the southwest of Ireland, like, and it is a rural area, and it's probably just inspired by that. It's kind of that old thing of write what you know, and I know what it's like to grow up in the countryside, in the middle of nowhere. So I think it's just filtering its way into the into my scripts. But I accept the challenge, though. The next thing I write now is going to be a guy in an apartment block somewhere, surrounded by noisy neighbors and all this kind of thing. I'll do it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not as scary when they can go to their neighbor and be like, "Hey, can you help me?" Rather than like they look
Yeah, I
outside and
know.
it's just pure darkness.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's
So
what
uh,
that
so
inspires
this
me.
is this is the same place in Caveat. Do I remember right? Was Caveat filmed in Cork? Is that right?
That's right. I'm in Cork. Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yes.
So this is the same. I didn't even recognize it. That's amazing.
It's the same room. Well, what it is the room that Oddity takes place in. It's in Bantry House, in Bantry in West Cork, and it's so the room that we spend most of the film in, that big room with the walkway and the stone walls. We built our sets for Caveat inside in that room, and I think I just spent so much time there. I said, well, if you just got rid of the sets, the room is really cool. So maybe I could write something around this room, and that was kind of what it just became the world of Oddity then. I don't know if there's anything. I think the only thing in the film that you could really, if you spotted it, was at the very end of Caveat, when Olga is standing at the door, and for one of the last shots, and she's standing outside, looking at Jonathan leaving. in the middle of Oddity when Darcy arrives, it's the same wall. You can see it's exactly the same doorway behind her that Olga's standing in. So I think that's the only giveaway.
All right, eagle-eyed viewers will be able to make
There
that
you go.
connection. We'll see. I'll have to go back and rewatch Caveat just to see.
Yeah, there you go now.
So yeah, I guess the next question sounds like you just kind of use this place. Did you have to do anything to this, location to make it creepier, or just old Irish castles just naturally creepy and haunted?
think there's kind of a naturally unsettling. It's not a very natural place to do up and turn into a home. I mean, even trying to heat that room, it is like a castle. It's there's nothing cozy about it. But I guess it's supposed to reflect Ted. I mean, talking to Lauren Kelly, our production designer, she had this great idea that it was like, well, it's almost like he's bringing work home with him. He's almost turned this place into what you'd imagine a stereotypical psychotherapist or a psychologist's office is. It still feels like an extension of his office with this kind of leather and steel and this very masculine, cold feel to it. And it was brilliant. It completely just brought that room to life in a way that felt like, oh yeah, this is really Ted's kind of cold. It has that feeling to it, which was great.
Yeah, no, it just naturally sets the mood. You don't really have to do anything. You just have this
Oh.
big open space that has just natural shadows and natural alcoves for killers and ghosts to be. It's kind of perfect.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
And the big, I guess, character in this film, other than the main characters, is the wooden man. The golem. I don't know what he actually is, but where did you come up with him? Is it like some sort of? I was thinking like an old Jewish golem, myth legend. I'm not sure what it would be called, but that's kind
Yeah.
of what I was thinking when I saw it. Where did you come up with this wooden man?
Yeah, that would have been one of the inspirations for it. And then I guess it's just a lot of I knew that she'd bring something with her that was humanoid. I think originally it started with a doll that was going to be she'd bring some kind of creepy old killer doll with her, but that idea has just been done to death and it's been done so well. Even go back to the first Child's Play, like it's done, the idea of a killer doll. So I just thought, well, what if she just brought something really big and bulking and this big bulky thing that's going to sit at the table for the whole movie, that you're waiting for it to come to life. It's like, when is that thing going to do something? Because it's just been sitting there now for an hour and it's nothing's happening. I just thought that would be kind of funny, I guess. I thought there'd be kind of a dark comedic streak to that you're waiting for this, you're waiting for it to kick off and you're waiting for something to happen. That was pretty much the idea of wanting something quite imposing just to sit at the table. And then I guess from a horror point of view, it is just that idea of the golem or there's some old easy comic stuff that have statues come to life, or Creep Show I think had a gargoyle that comes to life. It's just all these old horror tropes that you try to take and put your own spin on it, and hopefully come back with something that you're using in an original way.
Yeah, no, for sure. And speaking of waiting for it to come to life, when Yana put her finger in the mouth to see if there's anything there, I was just like holding my breath, waiting for something to happen. And that's like
Yeah.
your hallmark. Like all of your movies have this like series of like I call it in Caveat, the same in here, like series of nopes. Like why would you do that? Why would you touch that?
Oh
Why
yeah.
would you go there? Why would you turn that light off? Like it was just kind of the perfect way to kind of keep the audience on edge.
But isn't that the good thing about horror films though? Because I always think that like you no matter how clever a character is in a horror film, you really want them to make a bad decision. Just like every good horror film has somebody just doing something. It's like, why are you doing that? That's this stupid idea. But it's great. It's like I want them to do that. There's a noise in the basement. I'm going to go check what it is. Like it's what you want from a horror film, or it's what I want anyway. It's like, oh yeah, he's got a big gaping mouth full of these sharp teeth. Of course, put your fingers in there.
Yeah, of
Brilliant.
course. Exactly. Or when Danny like went into the tent to check the camera, I was like, why would you do that? But
Oh
then
yeah.
you get this like really amazing reveal scene
Yeah.
right after.
I know there is a little bit of suspension and disbelief with these things. You have to go like, yeah, that's a really bad idea. Stay by the door, check the camera. If there's something in the camera, run out the door. No, she's going to go into the tent and seal herself up inside there. And yeah, I guess
But
it is. You think about it.
I guess we don't know how we would act in those situations. I'm not sure how I would act if I was in that
Yeah,
situation, so I
I
can't
know.
judge her. Hopefully, I never will know how I have to act. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, so where did this wooden man come from? And I assume that were there multiple iterations. I assume there was like a wooden statue, maybe a couple, and then some sort of like suit for later when things start to happen with them. Like, where did you get these things?
Yeah, pretty much. We were so short in time. We just through for a variety of reasons we'd lost a lot of time on the design of it. I ended up working with thank God it was a designer in Ireland that had my sister's a makeup artist and he had taught her in college, and he's very skilled prop maker, effects, makeup, all this kind of thing. And but he wouldn't do these kind of things normally. But I spoke to him, and he was just willing to really get us out of trouble and work kind of morning, noon, and night to get this thing made. And so it was really, we kind of had one shot at it. So he had to design this thing. He had to design this thing live over Zoom. So to be like you and me chatting here now, but it'd be like me watching him sculpting this thing for hours. And he'd be
Oh
like,
my
okay,
gosh.
like let's lose the ears, or let's okay, make his mouth bigger, smaller. Let's cut off his nose. Let's bring his nose back. It was just this kind of thing of designing it in real time, which is just it's not a great way to work at all because you don't really get to let it sit and to come back to it and kind of pick at the idea. But sometimes because we were both just kind of going on gut feeling, like I think that looks really good now, or what else could we do to this to make it a little bit creepier? Um, but luckily he just he had that kind of talent, that experience, and he did warn me. He goes like, just be decisive, just be as decisive as you can because we don't have a whole lot of time with this. So once he had that done, that mold, that the design worked out, it then became the next step in it was taking Ivan, our performer, our stunt performer, who was going to play the wooden man, and Ivan's quite a big, tall, broad guy. But it meant then taking a full body cast of him, and from that cast, then we basically had two identical designs. We had the one that sits at the table for most of the film. That's just a perfect mold of what the finishing I guess would be. And then there's the man in the rubber suit essentially, which is a perfect match for the thing sitting down. So you've got your one prop, one hero prop, which sits there for the movie, and then when it's walking around and going on its little killing spree at the end, it's Ivan in this suit then. So that was it. So we only had the two. So if something had gone wrong, we were in trouble. But luckily nothing did.
Yeah, that would it would have to really, really quickly change. But that's amazing. So there is like an original wooden man somewhere, still like the one
He's
that you
been I
use for
think
the
he's on
mold.
a I think he's on his way back to Ireland now. He's been touring. What they've done is they IFC that they brought him around to film festivals. So like he'd play in I went to South by Southwest in Texas to see it. So like they had the wooden man there for people to take pictures with it or whatever. And then yeah, I think it's been all over. It's done more traveling than I have. It's been to like Overlook and all these film festivals. So I think it's on its way back to Ireland now, just because the film is about to be released in Ireland. So I think they're going to bring it back here, and then I guess it's going to just find a home then in my office, sitting behind me. So
That I mean, I'll be
yeah.
praying for you when that happens. But any mysterious disappearances in this world tour of this wooden man?
No, although I guess we could track it. We'll have to see. Now he doesn't have any legs. He's just it's one of the thing again with our time limit. Like Paul said to me, you're going to have to shoot him always from the waist up because he's going to have to be fitted. And I was like, perfect, no problem. I'll push him right into the table and I'll never shoot below. So yeah.
Wouldn't that's movie magic right there. I love it. That's
I know.
amazing. And what about the other, scary prop in this that I don't know what you call it, the porcelain mask. I call it like the Jabberwocky mask. Where did that come from?
Yeah. Um, Again, it was just it was just in the design of it. I just said that I wanted to have. I mean, it's quite a again, it's a little bit of a trope. You see those kind of disturbing masks and everything from, I guess you've got the Scream mask, which is, the Scream, and you've
Yeah, the
got
ghost face.
yeah, and you've got, the ghost face, and then you've got like things like eyes wide shut, that kind of thing. So it was always going to be somewhere in that vein, but it was really just this is what was designed, and it just seemed to be something just unsettling about it. And it's kind
Yeah.
of slightly smiling as well. It's very off-putting.
Yeah, no, it definitely that what the first reveal was just like very,
Yeah.
very off-putting. So I think that was a perfect choice.
Yeah.
One thing I like seeing, there was a caveat like rabbit, although I went back and rewatched parts of caveat and it wasn't the same. So, I love that. I assume that was a caveat callback, but where is the caveat rabbit? Where is the little drummer guy?
He's gone. He's gone. I had to part with him, unfortunately.
Oh
Uh,
no.
I know,
You could
but
have sent
the
it to me. I would have happily had him.
oh yeah, you and a lot of other people, yeah. If I had the amount of messages I've gotten about that rabbit, where can I buy one? Do you still have it? I don't. It really just had such a good experience working with Lisa Zagone, who designed the first the drumming bunny from Caveat. I just really wanted to work with her again and just have something of the film of hers in it, and we talked about it, and she just had this idea that what if we had something that was kind of similar, but maybe like was like she wanted to design more like a hare, something that was, whereas the first one I think was kind of much smaller and kind of sharper features. She just wanted to make something kind of bigger. And I just thought the symbols would make a nice cutting point in the edit as well, because I had done something like that in a film I'd made, a short film called Hatch, where there's an old symbol monkey up on the shelf, and at the end when it bangs its symbols together. It was just a nice way to, a nice place to transition. So that was kind of the idea of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And if you have, the lore caveat, that also implies that something spiritual is happening. So that was a nice little, callback there as
Yeah,
well.
just made sense. I think I just like the idea of kind of haunted objects anyway, and that, these old antiques that have, history attached to them, and cursed objects and all that kind of thing. So it's just, yeah, it's all playing in it's all in that same playground, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And I also do. I had my kids find their most haunted objects that they have. I assume that these are
Ah,
haunted masks, but
all
I
right,
brought these oddities for the interview too.
all right, excellent. Yeah.
So I'm gonna get very, very briefly into spoilers if you don't mind. Just I really, 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 really quickly want to talk about the end. I liked the ending. I loved it. But there ever any other iterations? Because as we were building up, I was thinking like, I wonder if Ted is going to win here. And I was getting a little frustrated, but also I was like, that is actually kind of a brilliant way to end. And then there was a little bit of a twist there at the end as well. But were there other iterations of this ending, or was it always kind of like this plan that the sister had that kind of went out of whack and then kind of ended up being okay in the end?
I think I always like the idea of, I love it when a film, when it looks like it's over, and it only happens a few times. You go like, but everybody's dead. Everything is wrapped up. Why is the film still on? Like, what's left to happen? And I really wanted to get to a point when I was writing the script. It's like I'd really love to get to a point where it's that everybody's dead, it's wrapped up, and Ted is coming home. There's nothing left. We know you can't introduce a new character in the last few minutes to kill him. The wooden man has been done away with. So like he's kind of gotten off scot-free. And it was just, I like the idea that planting that haunted desk bell, which was such an old idea I'd had going back years. I said, well, maybe if she'd sent that as kind of like a backup plan, that if she'd sent this thing, and just kind of knowing kind of how arrogant he is and just like what a non-believer he is, and that maybe he'd kind of undo himself, that he'd know that she's sending this to him as like a test to say, well, I've told you that the last two people who rang this bell were found dead. Now do with it what you will. Like, you have that information. Let's just see if you can resist it and leave it in the box and don't do anything with it. And I just really liked that idea that he would, that he wouldn't be able to resist not proving her wrong, even kind of, even the fact that she's dead. It would still have to, that arrogance, he'd still have to have the last word with it. That was always going to be the ending. Maybe the way we shot it, we have a few different ideas. The bellboy was going to come running at him, or um, how we were going to frame that final reveal was going to be a little bit different. But it was just, and we shot it a few different ways, but it just seemed to be, once we'd picked our song, and once we'd kind of chosen how we were going to end it, that just seemed like the right way to go out with it. But there was never any under ending. It was always going to be everybody else is dead except Ted at the end. It was always going to be Ted and the bell.
Excellent. Excellent. And I
Yeah,
do like the way that it kind of like ended. It didn't end, in a violent kind of horror shock way. It ended what felt like a natural way, and you kind of knew it was going to happen. And
yeah.
I also like that you mentioned that she sent this as a backup, because one of my viewers had an idea that this was actually the sister's bell. Like, she sent it to herself because at the end, after she did all these things that she was planning on doing, which she wasn't able to because of things that happened to her, then this was going to
Mm.
be her way out as well. So I thought it was a backup, but I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure which way it was going to go.
Yeah, but again, you write these things, and I always think if it's never in the film, if it's never stated in the film, it's like this is exactly what happens. Then I think it's always nice to make up your own idea. Have your own interpretation of these things too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And this has plenty of plays where you can interpret things differently.
Yeah,
So I know we have limited time. I'm going to switch to a lightning round to just lightweight questions about the film. Want to see how your personal experiences map to things in the movie. Feel free to
yeah,
skip any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable.
sure.
First question: do you have cell phone signal in your house?
I do. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. I love that there was one spot, and there's that is another way to just like screw with the audience because you're like, I don't have signal, I can't call for help.
Yeah. If I could go back, I would actually have liked to have written out the cell phones out of it. It's just so I was trying to find a way just to not tie it to a time. And I think the only thing in it that's anyway kind of present day is the are the cell phones. But it just seemed to be no, it kind of has to stay. But yeah.
Yeah, you have a little bit of communication, and there's a certain scene
Yeah,
where you kind of need a cell phone.
exactly. Yeah.
Um, have you ever had a strange late night visitor?
Yes, I did. I lived in the city center years ago, and it was like 2 in the morning, and somebody knocked on the door, and the building was a little dodgy, and the street it just wasn't the best. And there was a lot of comings and goings in that building, and yeah, and somebody knocks on the door late at night, and I knocked and I said hello, or they knocked and I said hello, and there's no answer, and I said hello, and I could hear somebody out there, but you could hear somebody kind of whispering to somebody else. And I remember there was a good crack in the door, and where the way it was, we kind of led up the steps to the store. So I backed down 2 steps and peeked under, and I could see 2 feet, but they were turned sideways. So as if like the person was kind of like as if they were talking to somebody else. And they said something like, "Could you tell me where some street is?" But it was very weird. It was a very unsettling kind of late night encounter. And I can't remember what I said. I said no. I said it's 2 in the morning. I said and I said don't knock on the door again. Whatever I said, and they were there for a moment and then they were gone. There was just something about it that was it. I mean, it's not exactly a thrilling too much of a thrilling story, but yeah, that's probably the only one I could think of.
And that's also the perfect way to start your next urban horror film. I don't know what you call it.
There
Knock,
you
knock,
go.
maybe.
Yeah.
Have you ever taken a picture of a ghost or an intruder?
No, no, I haven't. When I was younger, I was very interested in ghosts captured on camera. I used to go to the library a lot when I was a child. Our library in Bantry had a lot of books on just spirit photography. Like ghosts caught on camera in churches and in the backs of sitting in the back of cars and things like this. And I was always fascinated by them. They're very unsettling old black and white pictures. But no, myself, no, I've never captured anything.
All right. When was the last time that you have slept in a tent?
Ooh. Let me see. I guess maybe 2 or 3 years ago now. It's been a while. Maybe just for the pandemic.
I was going to say COVID camping. That sounds about right.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, yeah.
Have you ever specifically challenged like a haunted object or like a urban legend or something like that, the way that Ted does in this movie?
Oh, that's good. Have I? No, I haven't. Oh, have I now? No, I can't think of anything. I know that maybe as a teenager or something, if you hear a house is haunted, you've gone in there and looked around. But no, nothing I can think of now. Nothing very clear that's coming to mind.
I mean, that seems to be the right answer. Play it safe. You don't know what's going to happen, right? Why
Yeah,
risk
I
it?
know. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this question, I don't know if you're married. So if you are, what did you get your spouse for your 5-year wedding anniversary? And if not, what would you get a potential future spouse for the 5-year wood wedding anniversary?
I'm not married though. I don't know. Not a big wooden man anyway. I don't.
You're gonna have one though. You can have a wood. It'll be the perfect.
Well, I have this one now, so maybe I can give her this. Yeah, I'm sure
Yeah,
she'll be good.
it's personal. It's special. It's
Yeah,
unique. What else
and
would you want?
it's a movie prop. Maybe if the film gets a little cult following as years go by, it'll be worth some things. So it's not a bad gift.
It's not. Although it might be a little bit arrogant if you're like, oh, here, I'm giving this to you. It's gonna be worth something. Let me sign it for you. Happy anniversary. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see. It is very unique. It'll be no one else will get something like that.
Yeah, I'd be sleeping in the spare room with the wooden man then, yeah, yeah.
Well, then you can sleep in a tent too. So it'll be perfect.
Yeah.
Um, so if you had the choice to lose your sight but gain psychic powers, would you?
Lose my sight. No, 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 no.
I-
I'll try.
As a director, that probably is not a good trade for you.
Not the best. I know that, you'd be, I guess, the psychic powers would be handy as a director. You could see all the problems coming up. You'd be able to, you'd be able to watch the movie before you make it and then go, now I know how to make the movie. Now I'll go back and make something really good. But I guess, yes, sight would be handy as a director.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it seems like the right choice. I probably would also make that choice. I kind of like my site, but
Yeah.
who knows? I
Yeah.
mean, it might be nice to have some insight on some things because I'm kind of clueless on stuff.
There you go.
Um, and the last question, what is the strangest or oddest thing you have in your house?
Let me see. Well, if I was in, I'm not in my office at the moment. If I was in my office, there's a lot of weird things in there, like movie props and but there's a lot of just bits and pieces that I've picked up at flea markets and just random car boot sales and things like this over the years. I think a lot of them are in Darcy's antique shop, kind of scattered around the place. Um, there's a few odd bits and pieces in there, right? Yeah, there's a really old, there's like a jack in a box with a clown that pops up of it, pops up out of it. That thing's quite unsettling. It's giving me the creeps a few nights inside there. Um, yeah, it's probably old junk like that I have around the office is a bit of a collection there.
Yeah, no, that's very creepy, but also very on brand. That's like the perfect thing for a horror director to have is a bunch of like random creepy things to scare and inspire and use in future movies.
Exactly. Yeah, you're sitting working away. You can glance around and be inspired. So
Yeah, or the rabbit just starts banging. You're like, what is going on? You run out
yeah.
quickly, maybe take a break, see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So, speaking of haunted objects in future movies, you are out promoting Oddity. It's coming to digital on August 20th, 2024, and also coming to Ireland in theaters, I believe in theaters. So it's getting out there. It's got a lot of buzz. It's got a lot of great reviews and a lot of great Rotten Tomatoes scores. But I imagine you were probably working on something else, some future project. So after people see Oddity, is there anything that they can look for next from you?
Well, it's been fantastic how well that Oddity has been received. It's really because Caveat was a little bit of a slow burn. I know it was a tiny movie, but I have found over the last few years, even since we've spoken last, that like it's been great because somebody always seems to find the movie or they recommend it, and it is a strange movie. So I'm very grateful that people have discovered it and that it hasn't been completely lost. And of course that led to Oddity, which has been great, as you were saying at the start. That the reception to it has been fantastic, and I'm lucky that that's given me the chance now to keep working and to make something else. So I'm hoping end of this year or start of next year. We're just starting work at it now, but I hope within the next 6 months in it we'll have it shot, and then I guess we go post production, and maybe the end of next year something would be coming on the horizon. So yeah, it's going to go back to work now after these few weeks once Oddity has completely come out, and then just focus on that. Yeah, so I kind of be hoping the end of next year something would start appearing.
All right, awesome. Fingers crossed. Can't wait to see what's next. I am very happy that Oddity has been doing well.
Yeah,
Personally, it was annoying because it took so long to schedule you because you've been so busy because Oddity is doing fantastic and you're out talking about it and traveling to film festivals. But no, I love seeing that. And speaking of Caveat, like my interview in Caveat, like I have people coming and commenting there saying like, "Hey, I saw Oddity and that led me to Caveat, and I loved it and thank you for this interview to like learn more about it." So you're right, like Caveat has stuck around, and Oddity's success is getting people to come watch your other films. So I'm
it's
excited to see
great.
what comes next.
Yeah, cheers. Yeah, it's great. Like, and it is nice that like any will say, like if I ever see a filmmaker and they haven't made many movies, but if I see something that maybe grabs my attention, the first thing I'll always do is go back and see, oh, well, what else have they made it, or what are they making next? So yeah, I'm very grateful to be in that position now where people are getting in touch saying, oh, I saw Oddity, so I'm back and I watched Caveat and they liked that. So yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, make sure to check out Oddity. It is a fantastic movie. It's a wonderful, suspenseful, atmospheric horror movie that plays with all of your emotions. It has haunted objects, and then also go back and watch Caveat for the first haunted object, the sweet little rabbit that apparently no longer exists. But check out all of that and look forward to Damian's future movies. This is Damian McCarthy, the writer and director of Oddity. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, well, thanks very much. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's great talking to you again.
That was Damian McCarthy, the writer and director of Oddity, which is coming to digital on August 20th, 2024. It is a wonderful, tense, atmospheric horror thriller that has this amazing ability to play with the audience, this great use of light, and a story that has so many twists and turns. I adored it. I love this movie, and I was very excited to talk to Damian about it. So, if you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.